All right, welcome back, guys, to another video. I am continuing the reading of the book about nutrition. I have not given a title yet. I have not given you the author yet, but I will do so later on. I have to build up the intrigue and the interest of the book. I know reading a book on YouTube is not something that's popular, but I'm grateful for the few views that I am getting. Again, I'm not doing this for clicks. I have a true, definite passion for nutrition and I just have a passion for truth. And when you've lived a life, when I say you, I'm just putting everybody underneath that category. When you've lived for so long being told something and being fed a crop of lies, and you get older, you start to realize that the way of living that you were given is not the truth. That there's life and death in the choices that we make every day. And diet and nutrition is a form of chemical warfare without a doubt. And it's not there's no need to make it seem as if it's not a big deal. It's not making anything seem like anything. It just is what it is. There are many components of a war. You have, guerrilla warfare tactics. You have war with nutrition and chemicals, as we're going to see as I continue to read chapter 1 of this book. There's also psychological warfare in terms of the psychological programming that's waged upon our minds every day with media, mainstream media, and how they censor certain people who speak out and say certain truths that goes against the mainstream media machine. You have the political circus. People actually believe in politics, and they actually believe in the validity of voting. If voting really mattered, they wouldn't allow us to do it. There's no way that the powers that be are going to allow people to have actual say so in what goes on. There's just a veneer. There's just the guise and the illusion of true democracy. There's no such thing as democracy. It's all a lie. We are still underneath rulership. And the best way to rule people is to give them the impression that they have a say-so in policy, that they have a say-so in voting in certain political officials that are going to go in and make a particular change towards something that people are passionate about. And that's not the case. But it's made to seem that way, and that's the best way to fool people and to keep them in the stupor. As your mind stays there, it's hard to grow, it's hard to elevate, and whenever someone comes with something that's totally different from what you heard, the labels start to fly out. You're weird. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're this. You're that. And that's where we are at today. There are many components of this warfare that's being waged upon our melanated people. But I think that it starts off with nutrition. Nutrition is the slow way of killing. It's a slow death that's waged upon us. And that's what is being done. If you could take control of the mind, you can then take control of the direction and the thoughts of how people think and which direction that they're going to go in. Because again, I told you guys before, we are controlled by chemicals. This is not pseudoscience. This is actual, real, authentic science. So I'm going to continue. I'm still on chapter 1. It says African Americans or melanated people, they suffer due to the nutritional level set by the Caucasian African American women and girls' diets and the most nutritionally deficient. Again, African Americans suffer due to the nutritional levels set by Caucasians. African American women and girls' diets are the most nutritionally deficient. So our diets are being set by their metrics. Yes, we're all human beings on the outer shell, but biochemically, our DNA is different. We can't have people with different DNA try to tell us how to eat. They should not be given the power to set the metric of what dietary, requirements are needed for a particular human body. We need melanated people who are experts in the melanated genome to tell melanated people how to eat. We cannot use the metrics set by the Caucasian to set the bar or set the standard of what certain nutritional levels are needed by us. It doesn't work that way. It should not work that way. It's a paradox, but yet we still operate underneath that paradigm. For example, Africans and African Americans have the highest level of malnutrition, stress, degenerative diseases, birth defects, venereal diseases, and even the most headaches. Now remember the past video that I did when I was reading chapter 1, I talked about how the melanated component of our genetics makes us bind to those synthetic chemicals. Remember I talked about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nerve receptors, and I talked about how it makes us more susceptible to those synthetic chemicals. So it makes us food addicts, chemical addicts. It's not that we're addicted to the food, because most of the foods we're eating are not actually true foods. They're processed foods. But what you're addicted to is the chemical. All right. And you have the two hormones in the brain. You have leptin and you have ghrelin. Leptin is the hunger hormone. No, ghrelin is the hunger hormone, and leptin is the hormone that tells you that you're satiated. But when there's an imbalance in those two hormones, and when you're eating synthetic foods, you're not getting the nutrition that your cells need to tell your brain to give the message through the leptin hormone to say, I'm satiated, I'm okay. That's why they have certain foods called nutritionally dense foods. Like if you eat nutritionally dense foods, you're going to feel full and not want to eat that much, because your cells are like, hey, I'm happy, I got what I needed, I'm good. When you're eating synthetic foods, you're going to overeat. You're going to eat, and 2 hours later, you want to eat again. 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 People often ask me, how do I go a day without just eating once? I eat once because the food that I ate makes me feel full. I don't feel hungry. I'm not starving myself. I just don't feel hungry. As much as I go to the gym, I wouldn't be able to actually function in the gym if I was starving myself. I don't starve myself. That's not even healthy to do that. All right? But that's what makes us more susceptible to those diseases. So that's why African Americans have the highest level of malnutrition. That's why we have the highest levels of stress. That's why we have the highest level of degenerative diseases, birth defects, venereal diseases, and even the most headaches. That's why. Our melanin component makes us more susceptible and makes us fall prey to these types of illnesses due to our makeup. We cannot eat and adopt the European diet or the Caucasian diet and feel like we're going to be okay. We are different in our genetic makeup, and due to our differences, we cannot eat the same. We cannot adopt the Caucasian nutritional levels as our own. It's not wise. It's counterproductive in every way that you can look at it. Johns Hopkins University's research reports that the poor have 60% more headaches. Added to all Caucasian research must be the additional diseases caused by white racism and melanin deficiencies, which their science totally ignores when evaluating African American health or African Americans' health. Food is used to destroy Africans' health, while at the same time, that same constipating synthetic Caucasian food makes an abundance of profit for food companies. The diseases, and the way the author spells diseases, he doesn't spell it the way you think it should be spelled. He separates it. He has DIS and he has a hyphen. Then he has EASES. So he has DIS, he has a hyphen, he has EASES. So he's not calling it a disease. The way you would read it is a dis-ease, because there's a lack of equilibrium in your system. So you're imbalanced. And when there's an imbalance, that's where you get the dis-ease within your system. So he's not looking at it the same way the Western world looks at it. He just looks at it at an imbalance inside the system of the body. And that's essentially what a disease is. It's an imbalance in your body, chemical imbalances. So the diseases the food causes make profits for hospitals, doctors, and drug companies. Disease industry. So we live in a world that's a disease-riddled industry. I mean, the whole world is ran by a disease-riddled industry, an industry that promotes diseases, but does it underneath the guise of nutrition. And those two words can't go together. You can't have nutrition and disease together, because nutrition in and of itself, by definition, expels the thought of any disease. Because if you're getting nutrients, it would eliminate any disease within your system. So that's the issue there. So reading along here. So the diseases, the food causes, makes profits for the hospitals, doctors, and drug companies. And the drug companies are basically a disease industry because that's the only way they can make their profits. Drug companies make profits when you're sick. But because we've been inundated so much by fear as an emotional toxin waged upon the minds of people, and that's another form of warfare that I don't even want to get into. That's another book for another day. Because fear is an emotional toxin. Most of us, we make our decisions based upon fear. And when you live underneath that cloud or that emotional toxin, it clouds judgment. And it really does. And so we live in a world where we think that being sick is normal. We think that having diabetes and heart problems and having stress and malnutrition, we think that's normal. That's just the way life is. And that's not the way life should be. But we've accepted it because they've brainwashed us to accept it. Not only have they brainwashed us to accept it, they've also brainwashed us to be dependent upon their drugs. So the drug companies are getting filthy rich off of our demise. So the only way they can make profit is to have you sick. They don't make money if you're healthy. They don't. That's just a fact. Okay? All right, incidentally, aspirin, okay, listen to this. Incidentally, aspirin and laxatives are the two largest selling chemicals of drug companies. The cooked junk food causes the headaches, aspirin use, and constipation, laxative use. So we eat foods that give us headaches. We eat foods that cause us to get constipated, but yet the drug companies have the drugs right there waiting for you to take. So they give you the disease, they give you the illness or the ailment, and they provide you the elixir to remedy your ailment or illness. You see how that works? I caused the problem, but I'm also here to provide you the solution. Okay? Okay, ask mommy to get it for you, okay? I can't find it. Ask mommy to get it for you. She's in the room. Knock on the door. But I can't go there. All right, daddy duty. Sorry, guys. All right, I'll get it. Let me finish reading. I'll get it for you, okay? Okay. All right, reading along here. Okay, so the cooked junk food causes the headaches. Then you use aspirin to remedy that, and the constipation, and we use laxatives for that. Africans are indoctrinated, so-called educated. So our education is essentially indoctrination. It's not true education at all. We're indoctrinated, which goes back to the things I was talking about earlier before I started reading. I talked about the brainwashing and the programming. It's all part of it. We are indoctrinated to believe that they are born to be sick or born in sin. And that goes hand in hand in this Western culture. You're born in sin and you need a savior. You're born to be sick and you need a savior. They go hand in hand. The medical industry will save you. Jesus will save you. You're born a sinner. You're born to be sick. So here are the concoctions and the inoculations that we can give you to heal you, to keep your body in equilibrium. You're born sick. Sickness is normal. You're born a sinner. Hell is the norm. But we're here to save you from that. You see how that works and plays on the mind? You see how both concepts work in tandem? That the world we live in this three-dimensional reality that we live in, and if you also juxtapose it with the spiritual realm, they work hand in hand. It's the same concept. The spiritual realm you just don't see because we have this imagination of a heaven and a hell concept. But here on this earth that we live in, it's mirroring the fear tactic. It's mirroring the fear-based posturing that fuels our decision making. It just does. It does. Being sick is normal, so we have to hurry and rush to find remedies, run to doctors, run to the pharmaceutical companies. You're a born sinner. Immediately you come into the world, you're destined for hell, but you got to run and go find a church, get baptized, accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. We're always seeking externally, outward, of things to save us internally. So, indoctrination teaches you what to think, while education teaches you how to think. There's a difference. All right? If you're in school, nothing wrong with public education. Well, I'm not going to say nothing wrong with it. But there's nothing inherently wrong about just learning how to read the simple, basic mathematical concepts and things like that. But when you're talking about history books that are given to us by the public education system, lies. When you're talking about the science books that are teaching about the human body and the things that get it sick and the medicines that need to be taken, lies. Lies. The whole industry is built on a foundation of lies. So indoctrination teaches you what to think. But whenever you challenge people and give them the skills to be able to critically think for themselves, and I say this all the time, critical thinking doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to end up finding out the truth every time. But it helps you to be a better discerner of bullshit, of BS. So when people are telling you something, you have questions loaded up already to ask. And when those questions are not answered and you don't have clarity, then you cannot subscribe to something that you don't have clarity about. You never wholeheartedly give yourself to anybody. I don't care if they call themselves an expert. I don't care if they have a medical lab coat on with goggles and they look extra smart and they have a bunch of letters in front of their name because they're a medical doctor. It doesn't matter. Those things are irrelevant because the system is teaching them what to think. It's being passed down. It's like traditional stories that are passed down orally in certain tribes in other continents, especially in the continent of Africa and many countries that are there. There are a lot of traditional stories that are passed down, and people just accept them for what they are because that's just the way it is. But that's the same thing with the medical industry. The germ theory, all of that stuff, that's what the medical industry is founded upon. Germ theory, this is not me making it up. That's fact. It's germ theory. It's a theory that has not been proven. The whole medical infrastructure is set up on a theory called germ theory. If you don't believe me, Google it and look it up yourself. Okay? But they want you to believe that the system in and of itself is truthful and that you're born sick, that being sick is a norm. So come to us and we'll save you. We'll give you our medicines and keep you on these medications. And every month, go back and refill your prescriptions. And come back to our grocery stores so we can feed you the poisons to continue this process. We want to keep you dependent upon these drugs because that's how we make our money. We got to get you sick. How would we survive if we had you guys well? You'll put us out of business. Got to keep you guys dependent and sick and needing and sticking out your arms, begging and praying to your Jesus to come save you health-wise, and then running to the pharmaceutical companies to give you their toxic drugs. So indoctrination, it teaches you what to think, and true education teaches you how to think. African people or melanated people are indoctrinated until they believe that they are going to get sick no matter what they eat or do not eat. I've talked to people that way. You know, have you heard people say, well, you're going to die anyway. I got to die happy. They keep eating their fried chicken. Gonna die anyway. That enrages me. I get angry when I hear that. What do you mean you're going to die anyway? We're all going to die. Yeah, we understand that. But the quality of life that you live before your time is up matters. It matters. Don't you want to have all your faculties intact? Do you want to go down sickly and in pain and in dis-ease? Or do you want to go out with a clear mind and be able to actually absorb the realities that are around you? I mean, how do you want it? You have to make that call yourself. Okay? Melanated people, African Americans, they think that you must die from dis-ease and often say you're going to die from something. So, I just said that. And I know I read this book a long time ago, but I swear I haven't read it. What I'm reading to you now is fresh. I didn't read this and then I'm rereading it again on camera. So I just said that. I said they think that you must die from disease and often say you're going to die from something. So why should I eat health foods? The Caucasian society reinforces this nutritional miseducational thinking. There are many countries in the United States of America, in Canada, England, France, etc., just to name a few, that have hospitals with drugstores, emergency medical services, clinics, and ambulances everywhere. Okay? Why do you think they have that everywhere? Because they're poisoning you. They're just getting ready to give you the fix. That's what they call living in an insane asylum. and we walk around with our heads up our arses and we don't understand what's going on around us. They sell drugs for diseases at gas stations, grocery stores, and amusement parks, and everyone buys them, including doctors, nurses, and morticians. Okay? African people or melanated people are carefully taught to be junk food addicts. So not only are we taught to be junk food addicts, our biochemistry makes us susceptible to their addiction. So we're fighting an endless battle. The environmental factors, the ecosystem in which we dwell, forces us, it puts us in that category to lean towards those addictive proclivities and have an increased cognitive dissonance against those things that do make sense. We don't care about the healthy stuff because that's not the way it is. We were brought up on fried stuff, so this is what we've always done. And this is just the norm. This is just the way life is. That's just on the physical front. But on the chemical front, the thing that you cannot see, our biochemistry, as we continue to indulge in these synthetic chemicals, we are binded to those synthetic chemicals, making us addicts chemically. So we're addicts chemically, and we're also addicted in the 3D reality. So it's a lose-lose proposition. That's how you get a true addict. Chemically dependent and environmentally dependent. You have a fighting chance if one is not there. When both are working against you, good luck. It takes a strong will and a strong-minded person to go against the grain of what society has heaped upon you, what society has compressed you with. When you're besieged with so much unhealthy practices, what are you going to do about it? It's hard when your whole family generation and tradition and family after family, they've all done the same thing. When Coach Prime mentions that blood clots run in my family, that's the ignorant way of thinking. It runs in the family. There's something you can do about it. Just because it runs in the family does not mean it's supposed to be that way. There's something that you can do to thwart that, to distort that pathology of blood clots that runs through your family. Your mid-50s, you have to get your toes amputated. That's not normal. That's through diet. But what do I know? I'm not a doctor, right? I'm just some ignorant black guy on YouTube talking to my camera and hoping that people would open up their ears and open up their eyes and start to take their health very seriously. What do I know? What the hell do I know, right? They sell drugs for diseases at gas stations, grocery stores, and amusement parks, and everyone buys them, including doctors, nurses, and morticians. African people are carefully taught to be junk food addicts. They are merely permanent hospital outpatients with some type of walk-in disease believed to be caused by bacteria or virus instead of the Caucasian. Because of the man-made Caucasian synthetic foods, Africans walk around with a fear that their own body will fail to be healthy or that their body will fall apart or self-destruct from a mysterious germ that has attacked them. Psychological warfare waged upon the mind. That fear. Once you're crippled by fear, you become the slave of your oppressor. You are the hand, all right, that guides yourself on the ladder to climb up to the oppressor's home and say, take control of me and do what you feel is necessary because I'm in fear and I need your help. When you become that vulnerable, by definition, you are already a slave. You are a mental slave. You don't have to be in shackles and chains. Because at least if you have shackles and chains, there's an impulse within you to break free. But when you think you're free and you're enslaved, you have no ambition to break free because you're inundated with fear, influenced by that fear toxin, and then you're influenced by your surroundings, and you're also inundated by the chemical reactions that are going on within you due to the addictions that are being caused by the synthetic foods that you're eating, due to the melanin component inside you that binds to those synthetic chemicals. You're a slave, but you don't know it. That's the best slave for the oppressor. At least if you know you're a slave, you'll try to find a way out. If you see the chains, if you see the physical representation of slavery with chains and you're being strapped down to something, it gives you the natural urge as a sovereign individual created by the creator of the universe to want to break free. You want to be let out and live out your will and live out as a sovereign individual as you are. If you see the physical representations. But if you don't see them, you think you're free. That's the worst kind of slave. Or should I say the best kind of slave for the oppressor. The slave that does not feel or think that they are enslaved. Africans walk around with a fear that their own body will fail to be healthy, or that their body will fall apart or self-destruct from a mysterious germ. Okay, I'll be there in a second. I'm almost done, okay? That has attacked them. So they think they're going to get destroyed by some mysterious germ that's going to attack them. It is the nutricidal actions of the Caucasians that have attacked all African people. Furthermore, nutricidal certified Negroes reject health food and will say that they are not dietary extremists like the African health food and vegetarian dieters. Consequently, they eat in moderation, which means their diet is a mixture of Caucasian junk food and health food. Moderation is used as an excuse to stay addicted to Caucasian junk food, junk culture, and junk religions. So when people use the word moderation, that is an excuse to me. You don't moderately kill yourself. You don't moderately take poisons to moderately die. You don't insert anything that's going to harm your body on a chemical level intentionally when you know better. You don't occasionally do bad things moderately and think it's okay. But that word moderation is a double-edged sword. It's used when a person uses it, it appeases their conscience, because to them they think, well, no one's perfect, only God is. I can't eat perfect, but sometimes I have to dibble and dabble in this, but I'll do healthy sometimes. When you do that, you've already wiped out the healthy food, especially if you're a melanated human being. I already talked about the binding component of how our melanin is attached to those synthetic chemicals. So you can eat all the healthy foods you want, but when you decide to kind of go 50-50, eat your junk and eat healthy, you're wiping out the health. Just like people who get a salad and they sprinkle all that dressing all over it. You've already killed the vegetable. The nutritional content of the food is just gone to hell. You might as well just eat the raw leaves. Don't even put anything on it. Moderation is used as an excuse to stay addicted to Caucasian junk food, junk culture, and junk religions. So he's putting everything in a nutshell. All right. The unholy trinity, so to speak. He's talking about the Caucasian junk food, the junk culture, and the junk religion. All junk. Religion and spirituality are two different things, folks. They're two different things. I'm not even going to get into that tangent, but they're two different things. Junk culture is a mixture of Caucasian culture in a superior position and African culture in an inferior position. These certified Negroes can be seen wearing European tuxedos and African kente cloth, bow ties, high heels, and straightened hair with an African grown celebrating Christmas, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, or St. Patrick's Day, or other Caucasian holidays. They pledge allegiance to Caucasian cultural perversions of religions, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, with the use of books written by and for Caucasians, such as the Torah, the King James Version of the Bible, and the European Arabic Quran. These religions refer to African religions as sinful, inferiorized women in Africa. If you ever notice that, when I talk to people a lot of the times, I used to be a hardcore like Bible believer, man. I used to be all in it. And I remember when I started to ask a lot of questions, I didn't have answers. And when I started to study the book of Genesis and I looked at the creation aspect and I started to look at other books, things were not lining up at all. And they teach you to refrain from other readings. They teach you that the other books that you read are doctrines of demons. They put you in a state of fear to halt the progress of actually elevating yourself as a natural human being, to lean towards curiosity. As human beings, we are bent to actually be curious, to seek information. You shouldn't force people by fear and tell them all the truth is in one book, and if you deviate from this book, you're going to go to hell. or Satan is writing these other secular books, and the only book written by God is the Bible. That's fear. You, as a human being, you should be able to trust your ability to have the skill of discernment to take in as much information as you want, and you make the decision for yourself. There's nothing wrong with attaining information. Doesn't that remind you guys of something that happened in the garden? The curiosity of the two human beings who were allegedly created, Adam and Eve. They got curious. They wanted to know about the knowledge of good and evil, and they were punished for that, for seeking information. Remember, I told you the symbol of the serpent is wisdom. But the serpent in scriptures is given a negative stigma as evil. And in our world today, it's evil to seek information. There was a message that was put out. I forgot by who. I read it somewhere. It had something to do with media publication. It had something to do with the information that's being put out to people. And they talked about how people don't know how to do research anymore. And they were framing it in a negative way. They said people who do research are more susceptible to fall prey to conspiracy theories. That people need to rely on trusted, listen to this, that people need to rely on trusted networks to give them the truth. In other words, the article that I read, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here because I don't remember everything in detail. It talked about how you, as an individual, just don't go seeking your own information. Just rely on the main hubs of information transmission as your source of truth, and leave it up to fact checkers to do the research for you. And I couldn't think of anything that's more symbolic of how cognitive dissonance is conceived within the minds of human beings. Because when you start on that path, when you sit back and you rely on information to be given to you from an outside source, it dumbs down the brain. Your muscular muscles and the endurance that you have to actually seek truth is diminished. It's atrophied. You no longer have the patience to seek your own information. You rather just sit down and have it given to you. It's no different than the woman who rather stop by a fast food restaurant to get her kids food rather than coming home to actually cook it. We understand that coming home to cook your food is a much harder task than it's easy just to go to a McDonald's or a Jack in the Box to get food and call it a day. But that's what I liken this to, is a comparable to it, a direct comparison. Essentially it's telling you that get it the easy way. Sit on your ass and let them give you the information. You just go off what we give you. Don't you dare research. Don't you dare look up anything for yourself. And when you do that, you're going to be a conspiracy theorist. You're going to sound crazy. That's called programming, folks. You got to have everybody thinking on the same plane. Immediately somebody deviates from that, then that person is an outcast. All right? So the reason why I'm saying all that is because growing up, they told you that looking at the stars, studying astronomy, studying the sacred geometry, studying metaphysics or quantum physics, studying all these different nuanced sciences, or I wouldn't even want to call them nuances because there's nothing new underneath the sun. These were things that our ancient ancestors were already practicing. If you even look into these things or delve into these things, you are being demonic. But yet, the scriptures that people are believing in is a book about the sun, Helios Biblios. The Holy Bible, Helios Biblios, is a sun book. The constellation, the sun, the 12 constellations that surround the sun, the 12 disciples that surround the sun. A lot of the things in Deuteronomy about the stars. But yet they tell you not to look up at the stars. Why not look up at the creation? It's here. So you're gonna limit me, like you're gonna put me on a planet with stars and a sun, but I can't study them. I'm just supposed to just stay dumbed down in the Bible and believe everything this book says, and that's it. No. You have to explore your mind and don't be afraid of gathering new information. That's how you grow as an individual. Yes, it's scary at first because at times when you come upon that new information, it totally shatters your old paradigm. Whatever you were born, whatever your traditions gave you, those things are gone. Those things are absolutely gone. And it's fearful because if you don't know the next steps on what to do after you've gained this new information, it puts you in a vulnerable state just for a short period of time. But you have to be courageous enough to make that leap. If you don't make that leap, you're going to stay stuck in a regressive state. If not regressive, at best, neutral state, meaning that you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to grow. You're going to continue to hear the same stories. Jesus died for your sins. Easter, resurrection, da 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 da. Jesus coming back. Like, you don't grow. You don't grow. We are currently in an information age. And people are waking up. The people are being awakened to what's going on around them. And it's up to you to either seek the information or sit flat on your arse and expect the world to just give you the information that they want you to have. And that's called programming. You're not going to tell me what to think, because I know how to think. Okay? So they make everything that's in Africa seem dark and demonic. They even preface everything that's good to be light and bright. And anything that has darkness with it is evil. So there you go. Melanated people, we're the darkest people on the planet. We're the evil ones. We're the dregs. We're the scum. But yet light would not have its significance if it wasn't for darkness. Everything emits from darkness. Darkness was here first. Light wouldn't even be light if darkness didn't exist. We are the indigenous people of the planet, folks. The European gene is about 6,000 to 10,000 years old. We were here on this planet first. And this is not me saying this to invoke some type of black superiority thing. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just stating the facts. Everyone knows that. Science knows that. But they won't tell you that. So you're going to have these latecomers come on the scene, this Caucasians and the Europeans, that all of a sudden they start to dictate all the metrics and all the levels that we need. They start to tell us how to eat. They start telling us that what we believe in is demonic. I wonder why they would choose the snake to be the demonic or the satanic representation. I find that very, very alarming, because our ancient ancestors, especially those Egyptians, they had the snake on their crown, but they didn't worship the snake. The snake was a symbolic representation. Remember, when a lot of those people used when they wrote in hieroglyphic format, they would use pictures that would actually be a way to transmit numerous amounts of messages. The 26 letter alphabet that we go by is very limited, because you have to use a combination of certain letters to transmit a certain message. So if I take the letter C-O-O-K, cook, I'm cooking, I-N-G, cooking. So that's just one thing. It's a verb. But what these people did, because they were so cerebral, they can actually use an animal depiction or animal imagery to actually transmit multiple messages out of that one hieroglyph. So the snake was a symbolic representation of wisdom due to its shedding of skin, due to its strength, being able to lift itself up without hands, being able to elevate without hands, the shedding, the renewal, the removal of the old, and the emergence of the new, because snakes do shed their skin, the way they move. I mean, these people were very intelligent. They took everything around them and contextualized it and make it make sense to them. But in this culture, especially when you sit down in most churches, anything that's associated with Africa, the continent, is made to be just savagery. It's made to look like it's evil. It's of the devil. And most people would tell you, and I've heard this, the reason why Africa is the way it is because God is punishing them because they worship demons. And I laugh at that. I'm like, well, the only reason why they are the way they are is because of these capitalistic practices, this free market economy stuff that we all believe in. They're getting their resources taken from them. Europeans are going there taking over and wreaking havoc in those regions and taking their minerals and the things that they have, their commodities. They're taking their stuff and corrupting those countries and bringing those countries down to their knees. All right? And they're also using food to actually attack them as well. It's not just here in America. You know, you have Americans that are through Red Cross importing toxic foods over there to those kids, because we're here. We're gonna create the poverty, we're gonna create the malnutrition, we're gonna create the famine, but we're gonna also provide you the food. It's the same thing. Once you figure out the tactics of the enemy, then everything starts to make sense. It's like a huge jigsaw puzzle. Once you start putting a couple of pieces together, all the pieces start to make sense. It's them that provide the illness. It's them that provide the weather manufactured storms that you think are natural disasters. It's them that provide the heavy rain and the use of direct energy weapons in places like Hawaii. It's them that do all these things. They destroy things, but they come in to help you. But the help is not necessarily help. It's to make you dependent upon them as a slave would be to their master. So whenever you're in a desperate state and you're dependent upon somebody else, you're willing to take anything that they give you. You're willing to take their prescriptions of life. They'll tell you how to live. They'll tell you how to breathe. They'll tell you how to dress. They'll tell you what to say. And they'll cut you a check for that. They may even give you a stimulus check and tell you to stay at home and keep yourself quarantined. And don't talk and hug people, because you may get a sickness because you got to stay away from people. Okay? So there are many things that are made to look evil and they're not. So they definitely inferiorize women and Africa, which is why, our ancient ancestors, they looked at the Holy Family as mother, father, child. The European comes in and says, no, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Where's the woman? And last time I checked, anybody that came on earth came connected to an umbilical cord. I would argue and say that Mother Nature, I would argue and say if God had a gender, the gender would be woman. Be woman. Woman is a natural nurturer. Woman is a provider. Woman holds life in her womb to give birth and nurtures that baby as well. So they inferiorize women and Africa by itself. In any case, junk food, junk culture, and junk religion addicts may call themselves moderates. However, the deadly effect of all junk is nutricide, spiricide, and genocide. Remember, I talked about this earlier. Nutricide is the killing of people with food and chemicals. Spiricide is the killing of your spirit. And genocide is the killing of a race. It's death. It's all death. It all leads to death. But once you can break down the human body in those three components, body, mind, and soul, oh, you got them. You got them, hook, line, and sinker. You got them. There are many alibis, excuses used by junk food addicts. For example, the addicted Negroes say that all Caucasians are not racist or that some Caucasians are nice. There are also nice alcoholics, nice drug addicts. You also have nice thieves. You have nice homosexuals, nice rapists. You also have cancer patients who are nice. You have diabetics who are also nice as well. Being nice does not stop white folks from having the disease of white supremacy, just as being nice does not stop diabetes. So the author is doing a very masterful job of tying in the idea of having this white supremacy mindset. He's linking it with a psychosis. It's a psychosis. Just like someone has a psychotic problem, they're mentally ill. You don't hate that person. You want to give that person help. They could be nice, but if they have an illness, the symptom of their illness is going to show in their actions. So when somebody's mentally ill, they may say things that don't make sense. They may think in a way that doesn't make sense. They may not follow the standard of logic law. They may not follow the standard of what most people do. They're strange. They're weird. They have fringe concepts. But those are just the symptoms of their mental illness. A person has diabetes, right? Okay, they're weak. Their legs are swollen. They get they have to get insulin. They have to do all these things, and they go to the restroom and they pee a lot, and those are just the symptoms of their disease. So he's saying that white supremacy, what's going on with them and us, they have a sickness, and their sickness infected us, the melanated people. They're nice, but they have it. That superior complex, that sense of entitlement that they carry, that's just in their DNA. It's not their fault. We don't get mad at a lion for ripping apart its prey. A lion is being a lion because that's what a lion does. We don't get mad at, in the animal kingdom, we just allow the animals to do what they do. Their characteristics is based upon their DNA and the way they were made. That you can't say, oh man, this lion is being mean because it's ripping apart its prey. No, it's doing what a lion is supposed to do. The idea of white supremacy is something that's wound up and embedded in their DNA, just like in our pineal glands and our ability to connect to the cosmos due to our melanin content and due to the euromelanin that's actually in the third, fourth compartment of our brains. Because we're wired that way genetically, it makes us more susceptible to be more connected to the cosmos. But when we put junk in our body, it also makes us more susceptible and prey to those synthetic chemicals that we we glue ourselves to. It's just the way we're made. That's why we have rhythm, because we're one with the universe. We can hear a beat and just start moving to it. That's what it is. Some people they're struggling. They're trying to find the rhythm and find the beat. We move with frequency. We move with frequency because we're electrical beings. We're connected to the cosmos. Okay. So nice Caucasians accept the benefits of their white skin, white supremacy, and do not actively or militarily stop other whites from being racist. They are guilty of white racism by passive participation and association. They live in a cracker white racist house and accept the economic benefits and social advantages from supporting the cracker white racism. If they were truly nice, they would move out of the cracker house or stay in the house. In other words, they'll work within the system and destroy it without any African participating or telling them to do so. Nice white folks is another Negro excuse used to stay addicted to Caucasian junk food, junk culture, and junk religions. Nutritionally, Caucasian junk food is twice as deadly as Africans. Caucasian junk food is twice as deadly to Africans. Excuse me, that's what I meant to say. Not as Africans, but it's twice as deadly to Africans. Now I'm going to stop right there. The video is already 46 minutes long. All right. I'm still on chapter 1. Okay. Still on chapter 1. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Leave a comment and tell me what you guys think. I'm just getting started. As I continue to read, just want to enlighten you guys on what's going on in our culture. That we've always been at war. We just never knew it. And the most overlooked aspect of this war is the war that's waged on us from a nutritional standpoint. Chemical warfare that we don't look at. And we don't see ourselves being distinct. We just think that the only difference we have is just our skin color is different. But there's a reason why our skin color is different. There's a reason why. Internally, there's a genetic component that makes us very, very different from the Caucasian. Not just chemically, but mentally as well. The way we think, the way we move, our voices. I have other books that I could read to you guys too that talks about our anatomy as well. And it gives you reasons as to why we have certain features the way it is. Our bigger lips, our wider noses, it's all for a reason. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for listening. All right. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. All right. Bye.